Hello and welcome to Watch Maxie's Watch Videos. My name is Axel and I'm glad to have you on the show. I've got a new watch. Actually I've got two new watches, as you can see here. And as always, new watch means 1 week video. These are two Miyen Voyager watches, and a couple of weeks ago I did my initial video about Miyen. And surprisingly I received a couple of very positive comments. And expectedly some very critical comments. This is my 1 week video about the two watches, my impressions, what I think, what I feel, what's good, what's bad. So let me surprise you. It's Thursday morning, day one. I've got my two watches on the wrist. It's the start of my holiday week, so I'm going to take the watches into my vacation. I don't know if I keep both watches on both wrists at the same time, but I'm going to change back and forth. I'm going to show you the steel bracelet and the rubber bracelet. I'm not going to play around with straps. I don't take my full equipment into my vacation, but I'm probably going to show you some impressions and some pictures of locations you haven't seen before, taking the watch to the beach and others, and share impressions which I probably couldn't make at home. So let me surprise you. It's Thursday night, 5 minutes to 12, and both Miyen are still on the wrist, as you can see. And you also can see I switched to the steel bracelet on both. The rubber strap is pretty fine. It's of really adequate quality, but I'm not the rubber guy. The strap is comparatively thin, as you can see. The big advantage of that is you can adjust the strap without any tool and without cutting the strap. Just slide it through, adjust it to your size and have it on the wrist. The strap is relatively thin, but when you have the part below the clasp and the part above the clasp, it is about the thickness of two thicker rubber straps, one upon each other. The thinness of the end part of the rubber strap allows the adjustment of the length without cutting the strap. However, it also means that the end part of the strap is really flexible, and if you have the rubber strap on your wrist, it can happen that the folded part of the clasp slides a little bit and appears from underneath the rubber strap and becomes visible. It's not a big deal, but I'd like to mention it. It's pretty comfortable, it does not disturb at all, so this hasn't been my issue with the rubber strap. I'm just not the rubber guy with the skin which can't breathe underneath. The end part of the rubber strap is not flexible, not at all as flexible as the end part. And with my 17 centimeter wrist, it's absolutely comfortable, the angle is right, but with a wrist which is much bigger, I'm not sure how far the rubber strap can adjust to a much bigger wrist than mine. And so far my first impression. Tomorrow I leave home for a vacation and will take some footage in my vacation to share with you my impressions about the watches. Friday morning about 8 o'clock, my two Miyen are still on my wrist. I'm going to leave for a vacation and I'm absolutely super happy. The luminescent power is better than expected. Not as bright as a diver's watch, but much better than expected. Tonight at 5 o'clock I still could read them with a little bit effort. So I expected less than that, so I'm happy with it. It's Saturday, day 3 of my 1 week on the wrist. As you can see, I still have both Miyen on both wrists, but this won't last very long. I'm not used to have two watches on both arms, so I'm going to change between the watches over the next coming days. I'm on Usedom, my vacation just started, which means when you see the video my vacations are over. It's a really nice place to be. Yesterday, after 11 hours in the car, plus check-in, plus getting all the stuff into the apartment, I had no interest in getting out my camera, and this morning I was too tired. The dog required a longer walk, so now I'm here. I just did a French toast, and for the beginning of the holiday I have some sparkling wine and orange juice. That's really great having holidays. I spotted some nice places on the island where I'm able to take some very interesting footage. What I already can say, if you don't use a torch to activate the lume on the watches, they are not readable throughout the night. What I said prior to this, that I could read the watch all night, was by activating the watches with my torch. That is okay, and I can read it. But without doing that, the lume doesn't last all night and the watches can't be read. It's Saturday, day 3 of my 1 week on the wrist. My Miyen is still on my wrist, and as you can see, it's just one watch. I'm not the guy, as I said, wearing for a longer period 2 watches, one on each arm, so I decided to go for today and probably tomorrow with the steel bracelet version. It's a very comfortable watch. I walked quite a lot and discovered the island today. We have been on the beach, we have been shopping, so it was extremely comfortable and I really do like it. The rest of the day I modified a knife. That's a Old Bear. It's a kind of Italian version or Italian alternative to the French Opinel. What I did is I changed the shape of the blade, I changed the shape of the handle, and with vinegar and mustard I painted a little pattern on the carbon blade. This has been my day work. Tomorrow I hope I can take some footage on the beach and share some impressions with you, what I identified on the watch. Maybe not important, but probably interesting for some of you. We have Sunday, day 4 of my 1 week on the wrist. My Miyen is still on the wrist. We have about 10 minutes past 2. And as you can see, I have the steel version on the wrist, but the one with the black bezel and the black counters is always near to me. I actually prefer this one, although the contrast is not as good as with this one. So in terms of readability, this one is slightly better with the black hands and the black surroundings around the counters. However, I like the overall design of this one. I think, and that's an important point, I am not going to be able to make 2 shots a day since we're on vacation. We have just 1 apartment, so I have to look when I'm free, when I have some quiet around me to make the footage. So probably it's going to be one footage, 1 take per day. I wanted to go to the beach today. Unfortunately, it's a rainy day, so I went to the in-house pool here and I was swimming for about an hour. You probably can see it in my eyes. And I had this one on my wrist, so even in the water, 1 hour swimming, perfectly fine. It didn't disturb, didn't hurt. It was not uncomfortable at all, so it could also be used as a sports watch. Absolutely great. Yeah, what else would I like to say? Readability I touched, wearability I touched. Tomorrow I hope I'm going to the beach and take some footage with some water, some sunlight, and some sand on the beach. While I've been talking, I showed you some extra footage of the 2 watches comparing the contrast, so I hope you got a good impression and look forward to my coming days. It's day 5, Monday. We have 20 minutes to 4. A Miyen is still on my wrist. As you can see, it is the one with the black bezel and the black counters. and not the steel version, which has been on my wrist for the last couple of days. Unfortunately, the weather today is not as good as I really like to have it. It's cloudy, it's rainy, we have about 17 degrees. So I've been to the beach, you can see it in the footage I show you right now, but it's not the weather which really invites me to stay on the beach for a longer time. So I'm going to use this day to show you two things about the watches which I think it's worth sharing, and that's my views about the bracelet and the bezel. Yeah, these are the two Miyen. Talking about the steel bracelet, I already mentioned the steel bracelet and the screws of the bracelet. Some work perfectly and some actually are pretty hard to remove and hard to turn. So this has been the case on this bracelet as well as on that one. So it seems to be an issue in terms of the quality over the whole series of bracelets. The bracelet itself, I was able to remove these screws, so it was not the case that I haven't been able to remove them at all, but it was a little bit harder, so it's not the same experience from screw to screw. There are certain differences. The clasp is equipped with a massive folding mechanism, polished, no sharp edges at all, not at all. The clasp itself is not massive, but it's very clean done with a polished angle here, so you have some light reflections from the top side, not just the side. I really like it. The closing sound is really nice. The clasp fits perfectly, no edge, nothing standing over, no sharp edges, nothing. And we have exactly the same on the steel version. The clasp polished, nicely done. Closing perfectly, nothing stands over, no sharp edges, nothing. And the same result with the screws. Some work better than others. At the end, all worked, but not as smooth as the best ones. Yeah, that is my experience concerning the bracelets. So given the price tag and price range the watches are in, it is absolutely acceptable. It's nothing to complain about, but it's something one should know if you go for the watch and decide a steel bracelet. Talking about the bezel, and I would like to start with the stainless steel version first. When I saw the bezel and I saw this little edge here and the bezel standing over and the little space in between, I remembered that my Moon watch has had a similar bezel, at least when it comes to the look and feel of the edge in particular. The edge feels pretty soft. It's not a sharp or very defined edge, so feels pretty soft. And looking at the black one, we have a similar gap here, but it's smaller, and the bezel feels a little bit more defined on the edge. So feels like it's a different material, or the angle is a little bit sharper. Looking at the engravements and font types on the steel bracelet, it is clearly not as deep and bold as on the black one. Here the fonts are bolder and the engravement is a little bit deeper. So talking about readability, the black one wins over the steel one, but the steel one is a little bit more decent and less sporty. So depending on where you want to use the watch, It's either this one, which is a little bit more on the, I can't really say dressier side, but less sporty compared to this one. The black bezel version really wins over the steel bezel version when it comes to readability. It's a Wednesday morning, it's about 9 o'clock and the Miyen is still on the wrist. Wednesday means day 7 and day 7 means I missed out one day. Not because I've been a lazy guy, it's the contrary. I've been very active yesterday. I've been out with my dog for 2 hours and went swimming for an hour after that. And when I came back, I just wanted to lay down, read a little bit, and I slept in around 7 o'clock and woke up this morning. So I slept about 14 hours. So quite obviously I needed this, and I missed out a single day. I'm going to share, by the way, I share some footage about my swimming, which I took yesterday while I was swimming, and I intended to do a recording after that, but I missed it, I slept. Today I'm going to give you a summary about the two watches. Here we have my both Miyen. As you can see at the 6 o'clock position, they are both pretty much in sync. They did not gain a second over the week, they did not lose a second over the week. So as far as you can say, with a week's measurement time at a quartz movement, the movement is pretty accurate. So what I would expect the movement to gain or lose over a full month, not more than 2 seconds, gain or lose 2 seconds in total, which I think is pretty acceptable for a low budget watch and probably a low budget movement. Before we come to quality, the screws, I mentioned that already, are absolutely smooth, really nice, no scratching, perfect fit. I really like that, and that has been the case with all Miyen watches I've seen so far, and these are the 2 I have here and the 3 which I have received for a review. So this probably is a standard quality level. Talking about quality, quality-wise, I had not a single issue with the watch itself. The watch itself, it's pretty comfortable on the wrist. I had it on the wrist for walking the dog for 2 hours and I didn't notice the watch. I had it on the wrist for swimming about an hour without any issue. So pretty comfortable, and the build quality of the watch itself didn't cause any complaint on my side. Talking about quality, I've seen some certain spread of quality when it comes to the bracelet. I mentioned that I did have the experience that the screws of the bracelet operate on different levels. Some are pretty smooth, some are pretty stiff and fixed. I could shorten the bracelet, but it has been a mixed experience when it comes to the quality of the screws. Similar experience with the end links. On this one, the end link is a perfect fit, no play, doesn't move at all. And with this one, the end link is a little bit loose, it has a little play, it's firmly in place, so no issue to lose the watch. But talking about the bracelet, I see that there is a certain variance in quality, which from my point of view is acceptable in the price range the watch is in. I've seen in some comments that this watch or this type of watches might be available for about half the price or a third. directly from a Chinese vendor. However, I prefer to pay a little bit more and have a contact in Germany, a watchmaker in Germany where I can send the watch to. But this is up to anyone's individual decision. I personally, I'm happy with the price, with the quality, and I'm going to keep the watch. And although I probably don't wear it too often, I'm going to wear it every now and then and enjoy the design and the comfort on the wrist. I'd be really interested what you think about the two watches, the price range, and in particular about homages in general. Thanks for watching my videos, stay safe, enjoy your watch collection and look forward to my next videos. Cheers, Axel.